Okay, welcome to Reamers Outdoors. I'm here with Phil Miller and Dwight, and we are going to be talking about the mule deer hunt we went on with Phil. Phil actually asked us to go with him, so I'll let him explain that and ask us a few questions about it.
So this hunt probably started in 2005. I started elk hunting around 2005, 2006, and I started putting in for mule deer points at that time in Colorado didn't know where I was going to go and what I was going to do with the points, but I kept putting in. I have a buddy out in Colorado, and he told me I should put in for a early season rifle hunt, high elevation. So I thought, that sounds interesting, I'll do that. You watch a lot of videos of big mule deer, high elevation. And I thought, well, I'll do it solo. I thought that'll be an adventure, but Dwight here, he heard about it, he said he'd like to go along, and kind of said he'd like to go, and I got to thinking about it, and my wife thinks I'm accident prone when I'm hunting anyway, so she really didn't want me to go by myself, and man, I was sure glad they went along when it was all over with. I'm not sure what they expected of this hunt. What did you expect?
I don't know. I don't remember completely what I expected, but it was a lot harder than what I did expect. It was definitely probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
I had hunted with Dwight before, so we had been on a moose hunt together and done some stuff. I'd never hunted with Kenneth, and you had never done a hunt like this.
No, I'd never.
And I knew that Phil was accident prone from the moose hunt, so yeah.
Oh, what happened there?
You found a moose shed and you were walking along the mountain or something.
Yeah, I slipped and fell. The moose shed fell on my hand. It felt like it broke it. I was in bad shape. So anyway, yeah, they wanted to go, and I put in for the hunt, got drawn, and we decided to go out about a week early. Kenneth and I drove just to do some scouting, and then Dwight was going to fly out. He was going to work a bit and fly out on Wednesday. The hunt started September 3rd, and we left the Saturday before.
Right.
I said, let's leave at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got over to Kenneth's place to pick him up, and he wasn't up yet.
I was still sleeping. Mom came down, was like, Phil's here, and I was like, oh crap.
So we drove out there, stopped for the night. It's about 26 hours from here in Indiana out to there. Drove out and met up with my buddy Mike out there that I elk hunt with, and he had done this hunt, and he pointed us out. He pointed some places out we should do some scouting, and we started scouting. What do you think of the country?
It was beautiful. Got a lot of good pictures.
You had been out west before.
Yeah, but never that it was that time of the year. It was either in spring or, yeah, it was never on a mountain that it was that beautiful.
I had been out to Mike's elk hunting once, so knew the area a little bit. This is a little bit prettier than that then. But always wanted to go on a high altitude mule deer hunt though, or high altitude hunt altogether. Was waiting to draw a tag sometime, but this opportunity came up to get a little bit of learning in before I go out myself.
So we actually found a lot of deer.
Yeah.
In the first couple of days. We did some scouting from like a side-by-side, hoping maybe we could find a big one and set up camp and just wait till Saturday, but we ended up hiking up, putting on our packs and hiking back up in, going up high. I was just beat. It was, I guess I'm getting too old for this, or I'm too out of shape, but got up there, me and Kenneth hiked up in, and that night I found a deer about a mile away on a ridge that looked pretty interesting to me. It's the biggest thing I had found. I couldn't put a fourth point on him. Like, he looked like a big 3x4 to me. And so I was like, and I couldn't figure out how I would ever get to him. Like, he was way up on a ridge, steep. He really held my attention. I watched him a long time. Kenneth and I camped that night, and it's pretty cool where we camped.
Yeah, I was down that gully. It got pretty windy. I thought my tent was going to blow away that one night.
But yeah, that high elevation was just the views you get up there. Just it's the country's awesome.
When we got in there, there was actually a deer bedded about where we were camping. Remember
Yeah,
that? There's a
yeah.
doe there.
So the next morning we split up, and I actually seen a few more bucks, and I went back over where I had seen that big one, and he was there again that morning. I watched him for probably an hour. And did you see any deer that morning?
No, I didn't see any deer that morning. Remember? Well, then I hiked up that ridge around the mountain there, straight north. I think it was north of our camp. And I was up there, and you were around the corner there. I don't think I ended up seeing any deer. That's where you and Dwight ended up hiking up later.
Yeah. So finally Kenneth come over to me, and we watched that buck, and the biggest one I had seen, I knew he wasn't a monster, but I finally decided if I could figure out how to get to him, I would. And that was that Wednesday, right?
Yes, that would have been Wednesday.
Well, that was
because
the
we
day.
picked up Dwight on, was that
Wednesday
Wednesday?
night.
Yeah,
Wednesday
Wednesday, Wednesday night we did pick you up.
Yeah. So we
Got a hotel on Wednesday night.
we packed up, headed down. And we ran into a hiker then that knew that country, and he told us how he thinks we could get to that buck. And that was really good information.
Mhm.
So I went up, did some more scouting while
I went and picked up Dwight at the
you went and
airport.
picked up Dwight, and I'm up on this high mountain. Like, it's not super high, but I think that mountain is 11, close to 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
And it's pretty steep, and I'm out of breath. I get to the top, kind of a funny story, and I hear this panting behind me. Like, I'm thinking, here comes another out of shape guy, and I turn around, and this guy is running up the mountain. He gets to the top, says hi, and runs right back down. I thought, you idiot. Bad enough that I can barely get up here, but you're running up here. But anyway.
And you said it was narrow too.
Yeah, it was real narrow. Like, could have sprained his ankle, but picked up Dwight, got a motel. And by this time, I'm feeling pretty tired and a little under pressure, probably.
Yeah, you got back to the hotel and you weren't quite Phil. You acted like you were a little bit far off or something.
Yeah.
A little foggy.
Yeah, we ended up giving him some room and going and getting some burgers so Phil can, reprocess.
One thing I probably didn't like about the hunt is I felt like there was too much pressure. Like, I'd put in so many years, like I felt like I had to shoot a big one, and I wasn't finding a big one, and it felt like a lot of pressure, I guess.
And that's probably one of the things about this hunt that I like the most is I had no pressure.
Yeah, so,
Well, I had the pressure of keeping the camera on everything.
yeah.
I still think I could have got some more footage. I don't think I got everything I wish I'd got, but it was good.
So then, Thursday, we headed back up there.
And we actually split up.
Yeah, Kenneth went.
You guys went up where we had went up, or me and you had went up. What day would it have been? Wednesday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday afternoon.
And this was Thursday now. The hunt
Right.
opens Saturday.
Right. And I went up around the other side of that mountain, kind of on the
On the
left side, and you guys
Calamount.
went around on the right side up to look off in that other ridge.
We were going to go past where me and you went. We were going to check like 2 more basins past where me and you camped.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Like the
That
basis
hike.
pass. No, the hike was, well, we went up about 2,500 feet probably
The
from
elevation?
elevation, and I think it was about right at 4 miles or something back, but it wasn't too bad the first 3 miles. The last mile was a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, we got up. I mean, at one point we marked almost 13,000 feet.
Yeah, I think we had 30 feet to go.
And the rock slides were just like the little eyebrow of the trail. Our packs weighed too much.
Yeah, between 50 and 60, yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, I kicked a rock and it just went to the bottom. I mean, I was a little worried.
It was steep, very steep, and what I could tell on my maps, it looked like it was about 1,000 feet or so to the bottom of that rock slide. But
Didn't Mike say that he wouldn't even went across there without, or he would have went across there without a backpack?
Without his pack, yeah, because he was worried it would take him over. But we got up in there and then we wanted to get down into the basin. And Kenneth, meanwhile, where had you went?
Why?
You tried to figure out how to get in that valley below that mule deer.
Right. And that's where we ended up camping to go get the mule deer, and that's where I met those other hunters.
Yeah. So you were already in there.
Right. I just went up, right there where we scouted for that deer is where I sat down the first time, and by that rock, and just started looking. And I sat there all afternoon until almost dark.
Without a spotting scope.
Without a spotting scope was a mistake. Yeah, I went out there and I could see deer. I just couldn't tell what they were. And so, yeah, and then I set up camp there, and then you guys had set up camp across, and I forget where where were you guys at that night?
So we were probably up on that ridge. What was it? 12,800.
Yeah.
12,800.
Yeah.
We were getting low in water, and the basin we wanted to get down into was so steep, but we could see water down there, and we really wanted to camp in that basin.
And we didn't really want to go back across that ridge again. It was the rock slides and stuff.
Like I thought.
And they had to go downhill a little bit to get on the trail. I was worried about going downhill with the pack and that slippery rocks.
Yeah, so we decided. It looked like there were some cliffs, and it looked like you could slide down through them cliffs into that basin, but we couldn't tell if that slide dropped straight off at the bottom. And so Dwight originally was going to go first, and he hauled around, and we backed up, and we looked at it, and I could tell Dwight wasn't too excited about going first, and I thought, well, this is my hunt. If somebody's going to die, it should be me. So I gave him...
I actually had the in reach. I wasn't sure what I was going to do if, no.
I gave him some rope in case I couldn't get down to pull my backpack back up, and I started sliding down.
Because we wanted Phil's backpack at least. If we're going to lose Phil, we wanted his backpack.
Right.
And it was much farther than I figured, but I could make it the whole way. And then somehow you figured out how high it was, and when we got down and looked up, we're like, man, we did not know it was this high.
Yeah. Well, I looked at my elevation when we were at the top there. When we got down to the bottom, we were 500 some feet that we slid down on our butts.
Wow. And at this point, I'm not eating much. And I'm hiking like crazy. Dwight started pumping water, and I went off looking for mule deer. I seen just a doe that night, I think.
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
No.
No,
because that was the next morning that I seen that buck come up.
And I had actually forgot most of my food.
Yeah.
I had a little jerky and a granola bar. I wasn't hungry anyhow.
I had food along, but I was even having trouble getting him to eat food.
Yeah.
So it was an awesome camp, though.
I was, yeah.
I mean, it was just the sun come up the next morning, and it was just
It was gorgeous.
cold.
Cold. And when you're laying there in the tent, you could feel your heart.
I could hear,
pounding.
I could hear my heart pounding in that altitude.
It's that quiet.
Yeah.
Well, we were 12.3
Yeah.
or something like that.
At least.
Yeah, 12.5.
So the next morning I get up and I still can't eat really. I don't feel like eating. And I go out and start scouting, and I start seeing deer. And I seen one buck that held my interest for a few minutes, but he just wasn't wasn't any bigger than what I had seen. He wasn't as big. You seen some deer?
I saw a little 3x3 or something run up the hill. I came out of the basin, kind of between me and you. I'm not sure where he came from, but.
So
and then I saw someone I got over by you, but.
Then the plan was, we decided there was no way we're going back up the way we came in. So the plan was to go down to the road that we in-reach Kenneth, go down to the road, have him pick us up, take us back to the parking lot. We were going to hike 4 miles back in where he had set up camp, below, or in the valley below where this buck was that we scouted. So tell us about the hike out of there.
Well, it didn't look too bad on the Onyx. It was like, what, 1.8 or 2 miles, somewhere in there. And we had to drop like 2,500 foot of elevation or something like that. Like, shoot, it's going down at least instead of up. But
And at the
That-
beginning, there was so many like cliffs. Like
Yeah.
we had to make sure we didn't get clipped out.
Yeah, that was hard. And then we got part ways down. We got into the timber, and then that was worse than going up, I think.
And I wasn't really eating. I mean, Dwight kind of made me eat, but I could feel I was getting weak.
hmm And you're side hilling all the time and crawling over down trees and I don't know. My feet started to slip around in my shoes a little bit, and we're starting to get sore. By the time we got to the road, I was pretty whooped.
Well, I couldn't believe how long it took you guys. In my head, I was thinking you guys are gonna hike down the mountain. I
Yeah.
hiked out like
That was
2
what-
hours
That was what was in our head
and
too.
drove around, and I even drove to the wrong spot and had to come back, and you guys still weren't back.
Yeah.
That woods was thick. When you looked up in there from
It
where
took-
I was,
Took us 4 hours to get out of there, and
wow.
I kind of figured maybe an hour we could get to the road, or an hour and a half.
It was bad. So we get down there, and I'm like, me and Dwight are exhausted, and this hunt starts tomorrow, and I want to get back into this valley where this deer, below where this deer has been hanging out. And I'm so tired. I mean, you were too, I guess.
I was tired, yeah.
So we go to the parking lot, repack our stuff, and I'm just determined to go. Like, I'm still driven.
hmm
And
Kenneth needs a burger.
all Kenneth wants to do is go eat a burger.
I was hungry.
So he gave you the location where camp was, because he left camp set up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have my tent there.
Gave me the location on Onyx where his camp was, and Phil gave him the permission to go get himself a burger. So, and he says, "Oh, yeah, by 3:30 or whatever, you'll be back here, no problem."
Yeah, like 2 hours,
yeah,
right?
2 hours, yeah. That's an easy hike.
And we're already like exhausted.
And like, oh, I looked at it, the trail's pretty gradual and everything. That's not too bad. We can do this. And we hiked for an hour and a half or whatever, and I look at it and I'm like, Phil, I think we're only like a quarter or a third of the way.
Our packs were, I'd taken some food in this time, more food. Our packs were pretty heavy, but I took out whatever I didn't need. So how long did it take us to get in there?
Well, I think it took us 4 hours to get about.
So the irritating part is we're almost there. Kenneth went into town to get a burger while we hike in. We're almost there. We look up, and there goes Kenneth. He went into town, ate 2 burgers, and beat us in there.
I mean, to be fair, I had been back there already, and you guys didn't know where you were going, so you had kind of went out a little further, but yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was a
So
little irritating at the time, but it's funny later.
I mean, I asked to carry your packs, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So we get in there, we find the camp, and immediately we start glassing. And Kenneth, on the way in, them guys from Arizona, you met them guys, right? When you went
Well, it
in,
was actually the night before.
the night before
Yeah.
we had met them. So they had set up camp close to us, and they were glassing right by our camp. It was a good spot to glass. And these guys they were super nice guys. They knew what buck I was after. They helped us look for it. They were bow hunting. And I told them, I don't want to get in you guys' way. I mean, if you find a buck that you want to go after, go ahead. I can wait. I got a rifle. And they were really good about just, what their name, Ben was the one guy's name.
I forget the other guy's name.
Yeah, but just super nice guys from Arizona. They told us they had never done a backcountry hunt like that, so
Yeah.
they were good guys to glass with, and they helped me look for that deer. I remember him coming down, and he had found the buck before I did, and he adjusted my spotting scope right on the deer. And so until dark that night, we watched deer. We watched a lot of deer. There were a lot of deer in there.
There's a lot of deer in all those basins really around there.
Mm-hmm.
But this was by far the biggest one. I mean, as far as
So we had spotted.
that we
yeah.
spotted, yeah.
And, they could have said, well, we're here hunting too, we're going to go after him, which they'd had a hard time getting to him with a bow,
Yeah.
but they were really good about it. helping us look for it and all that. So we glassed deer until dark, ate some mountain house. Man, them are good. I don't know how you can ever eat your mom's cooking again after
I
eating
know,
the
right?
mountain house
Right.
meals.
I was over Mountain House after that one. Oh boy.
They were even better though after we got back
Man,
on
yeah.
Saturday night.
When we got back to that deer, that was some good Mountain House at that point. But yeah, Saturday morning, that was opening morning, and we got back up there and started glassing, and we found him, and he had moved down.
Yeah, he actually, Ben, I think one of the Arizona guys, he had found him. We were actually glassing before they walked up, and they found him, I think, before we did,
Right.
and told us where he was. And we sat there until he bedded down, and I made sure that them boys from Arizona, there wasn't one they were going to go after in that direction, because if there was, I was going to let them go first.
Right.
And they said, go get him. So Dwight stayed there. That deer was a mile away.
Yeah, I think
We
we
were
were a
watching.
mile.
Seen him bed down. And so Dwight stayed there to glass, and me kind of took off. Took everything out of my pack that I didn't need. Took my rifle. I took it's a rifle I've had for years, just a Ruger 300 short mag. I'm pretty familiar with it, but I'm not real good at long range shooting with it. But we headed out and got down them pine trees, and he was up. That valley was how high?
Man, I don't know. I don't
11
remember.
something.
It wasn't that high. We had dropped down pretty far to get.
I think that valley was 11.5,
Yeah.
and then he was up.
Sounds right.
He was up quite a ways. So we and there was a little bit of pine trees down. When we got off the edge, we could drop down the pine trees and work our way over to where he was up on that other ridge. So we started working over there, and he moved, right?
Well, he started coming down. There was that rock slide that came down, and then he started working
Some
his
more
way
deer.
down.
Some more deer went
Well,
past him while he was
That's
bedding.
what got him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were watching.
I was watching. I saw you guys go through into the pines there, and I could never tell where you guys had came out for the longest time. Then the deer started kind of moving across. He just
Right.
slowly working his way, and
We
the Arizona guys, Ben was like, "Man, where are they at? I mean,
Yeah.
they should be shooting or whatever."
There was a point where we got within 600-700 yards.
Right.
And I
Yeah, we did range him when he was at the lowest point
And
there.
I wasn't comfortable with that shot. With my setup and with how I know that gun shoots. So we just kept working. At one point we tried to get ahead of him, drop down in that canyon
Right.
and back up, but anyway, he went up higher and bedded down, and I finally found the top of his rack in the brush. And we found this awesome place, and we've been going over there, what, an hour and a half? We've been
Yeah, it
trying
was
to get
an
in
hour
front
and a
of
half.
him.
Yeah.
Don't you think? It was probably about
Yeah,
an hour
It
and
was
a half.
close to an hour and a half. Yeah.
And at one point we crawled, how far, across that open
It was,
ground?
man, it felt like 300 yards, but it was only like 50 yards or something like that.
And we found this spot and these pine trees. This little grove of pine trees, and it looked like elk had bedded in there. And we could move around, and he was steep up a ridge, and like 330 yards, way up that ridge. And it gave us a chance to like lay down, eat. I could practice different shots, like how I would rest my gun off a log or a backpack. And we waited. That was about 11:30, right?
About 11:30, and he didn't stand up.
And by that time, I had spotted you guys once, so I knew kind of where you guys were at. But yeah, waited and waited and waited.
Well, he did stand up at about, I forget what that was, 2:30, 3 o'clock ish.
Several
He
times.
stood up. Well, the one stood up a couple times, but that other one, then they switched spots, which is so weird because they switched spots to the same exact spots. There's
Yeah.
two bucks. There was the narrower one, and then there was the wider one, which one we were after.
And so we waited, and So on Tuesday, when I first seen that deer, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we seen him Thursday too. He was always way high up on top of that ridge. Well, when we got into that valley, he had dropped down just a bit. And he was working just a little lower on that ridge in the evenings and mornings. So I was hoping that he would come down and give me a 200-yard shot. Well, we waited, how long?
I mean, it was definitely 5 hours, possibly 6.
I think it was about 6 hours.
6 hours we waited there underneath them trees.
And he finally, the buck he was always with was feeding, and he started going higher, and he went behind some cliffs. And I thought, man, if they go over the top, it's over. They're going to be gone. And we went through all this. So he stepped out, and he was feeding 330 yards, and I felt pretty comfortable. I was on my backpack, and it was steep. Man, it was steep. And I told Kenneth, I'm going to try it. He had the camera all set up. He said, let me know when you're going to shoot. Why was that?
I jump every time for some reason. Always do.
And what were you doing right there?
Well, I was watching him and I seen he got up, and then I had a phone scope that didn't fit my spotting scope, but I had put it on my binoculars, and I was just getting it set up to try getting a picture of him through my binoculars quick, because I thought, well, it'd be kind of cool to get him a picture of him live, right? So I figured you guys are gonna probably shoot soon. I know sooner and took my eyes off the spotting scope, and I hear boom.
And you looked through and he was gone.
And I looked at the spotting scope right away, and there was no deer there, and I was like, well, where'd he go? And then a little bit later, I seen you guys come out. Then as soon as I seen you guys come out, I saw the deer laying down lower. But I think till I heard the shot, the deer was already out of the scope.
Yeah, so he come out there, 330 yards. I'm on my backpack with the rifle. Kenneth's got the camera set up. I tell him I'm going to shoot, and I shoot, and he just drops and starts rolling. I mean, and he rolled, tumbled. I think sometimes he was almost in midair, coming down that slope. And I didn't make the best shot. So he wasn't totally dead, so he kept kicking, and that kept him rolling. When we were watching him that whole week, his bell was perfect. I mean, he
looked good.
And we figured he rolled, what did I figure, 500-600 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
I was just, it's like I had worked so hard, all the years of putting in, and we hiked so hard, and after I shot and he went down, I was almost weak.
Yeah, you went down on your hands and knees right away, and you were puffing like crazy. It was a good experience.
Worked our way over to him, and he was just dying.
Yep.
Which was a good thing he came tumbling down, because if he'd have been up there,
I'm not sure.
he might still be out there packing
I'm not sure. We could have climbed up there, I think, but it was steep.
I'm glad. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm kind of glad he rolled down. I'll be honest. That was a long.
Yeah,
race.
I can put fake velvet on him.
Yeah.
But taught kind of how to butcher a deer.
Yeah.
We tied him to a rock so he wouldn't keep rolling.
Dude, you're amazing at it. Like, we had that thing all butchered up, meat all cut off it by what? We had spent 2 hours, barely that even.
No, it wasn't. I think it was an hour and a half it took.
Yeah, it wasn't even very long. And I was like, wow. Now looking back, I'm like, I could have never done that.
And I was watching them. Well, they had left with 2 packs and stuff, and they could get him out and that. But then you had shot, and I was watching you guys through the spotting scope, and I did a little bit of the camera too. But then I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna get over there before dark, I better get moving. So I took off, and then I went a little bit. And I was like, we're gonna need trekking poles, because I seen you were using your trekking pole as a for your binoculars.
Oh yeah.
And so I said, I seen that one sitting there, so I knew that your other one must be back at the tent, so I went back at that, and then seen Phil's laying there too, so I grabbed all the trekking poles and beat it down there. I actually made it to you guys in I kind of ran half the time, but 35 minutes or something.
Well, it was crazy.
And I hear Phil saying, something about, I wish I had trekking poles or something like that.
It was steep, and I had 2 quarters. I deboned the meat. I had 2 quarters, the head, the hide, my rifle, and my pack. Kenneth had 2 quarters in your pack,
Yeah.
right? And it seemed like after the hunt was now over, my drive, I was so tired and my drive maybe left me a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was steep. I don't know what my pack weighed, probably 100 pounds.
Probably.
And I just made this comment. I said, man, I sure wish Dwight would show up with some trekking poles. I looked up and there he was.
It was wild.
I don't know if an angel, had dropped him off.
Yeah.
So Dwight comes over with trekking poles and he says, I know an easy way to get back. Turned out not to be easy as we thought. And we forgot our lights. You had your headlight. I didn't have mine. You didn't have yours. Stupid. I always had my headlight.
And we have a mile to go yet.
Yep.
Thank goodness we had our trekking poles. If we would have had our trekking poles, I don't think we'd have made it back.
And we started going, and I have always been able to push myself, like I can keep going. And that night it felt like a wall where I could not go. And I finally told Dwight, I said, I can't go. So did you take the meat?
I took the
Yeah,
meat.
you took the meat. I kept the head, the hide, and then I could go. And we just kept plugging away, and it got dark. I took my phone, put it in my binoculars case with the light on so I could kind of see. It got rocky. It was brushy.
Wow.
We stumbled. We stopped and got a bunch of water, pumped, filtered some water, and made it back to camp at what, 9:30?
Somewhere around 9:30.
I got pictures of us just collapsed on the ground.
It was wild. I do remember when we're hiking out of there, I mean, I had like mesh in the bottom of my pack, so I had blood running down. And I was in the back, and I kept thinking, man, I'm just leaving a real good trail here for something to catch up to me. I was convinced there was bears out there or something that was going to catch up to me, which...
I figured if...
You didn't have your bear spray?
I had my bear spray.
I figured if a bear or lion did catch up to us and kill us, we didn't have to hike the rest of the way out.
Well, or at least we wouldn't have had to back the meat out.
Drop your backpack and run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we collapsed in the camp, made supper.
Yeah, we had a feast. We had
Man, it felt so good.
Oh man.
I was never so glad to see a tent in my life. And we had hot chocolate. That was good stuff there.
I told the boys, I said, you guys sleep in tomorrow morning, we got all day. I'm gonna get up and cape the buck out so I don't have to carry the whole head. That's what we did. You guys slept in a bit, or he did. I don't know if you did or not, but I started.
Whoa, I forgot about this story. What about the mouse? You gotta tell us that story.
Oh, that's right. So I'll let you finish it, but that night, so I take the meat. We have 2 quarters and 1 game bag. So we have 2 game bags of meat plus the hide. I mean, and we left a trail of blood for a mile. So I put that on the bushes to, let it air out, let the air get through it so the meat stays good. It got cold at night. So it's right outside our tent. Now I haven't seen any bears. I don't think there's bears up there, but in my mind, we had seen a badger.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's lions up there. So that's into the back of my mind. So that night, I'm sleeping, trying to sleep, and I hear Dwight just in his tent, and I think in my mind, when I hear that, I hear something outside the tent too, pulling on them game bags. So, kind of how your mind runs in the middle of the night when you got meat outside your tent. So what was going on in your sleeping bag, or in your tent?
I was laying there sleeping, and I had kind of just rolled over a little bit, repositioned. I think I was laying on my stomach and had laying there, and all of a sudden a mouse runs over the top of my head. And I was like, how in the world did you ever get in my tent? Because I had a mesh screen tent, like they shouldn't have been able to get in.
Yeah.
And then I looked, and here I forgot to...
When it's pitch black,
Yeah.
you can't see anything.
I forgot to zip my mesh shut. And the mouse came in there, but then they had like kind of a bathtub design or whatever, so they had a 4-inch ledge to jump out. I was like, how's this mouse going to get out of here now? I'm just running in here, it's not going to see the way
It's
out.
a one-man tent, right?
Yeah, it's a one-man tent. It's pretty close quarters here. And I went up in the corner of my tent where I had my charger, battery pack, and a couple of my, like the bag for my sleeping bag, like the compression bag and some stuff, and it got behind that. And so I kind of pushed down the edge of my tent where the door was and got my boot and kicked the corner of the tent, and the thing was shooting right out the door, luckily, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do to get him out of there.
I told Kenneth I looked out my tent and Dwight's tent was hopping around at the base of the mountain.
Oh boy.
Oh, that was funny. So we got up. I actually never got up then. Things finally quieted down, and I assumed everything was okay. I was tired. Got up next morning and started caping out the deer. Ate breakfast. I tried to eat some oatmeal. I just couldn't quite get it down. And guys from Arizona come past to do some glassing. I talked to them for a bit. And started packing stuff up. And man, were our packs heavy. We weighed yours then. Yours was the heaviest. What did it weigh?
102.
102 pounds. And he was stubborn. We told him we'd take some of his weight, but he
Yeah.
he said he was going to do it.
Yep.
Well, you kind of left us. You went and headed up the truck, grabbed some drinks, and came back.
Well, we stayed together for a while.
Yeah.
But I couldn't keep up.
And that last mile or so, I just put my head
Oh, it
down
was-
the wind. I was so tired.
I mean, that last mile for me and Dwight was rough.
We had
I mean,
4 miles out.
you
Yeah.
literally about stop thinking and just make your feet go
Yeah.
one in front of the other. I mean, it was.
So I got out of the truck and I didn't know how far back them guys were, so I grabbed a drink and grabbed some more drinks, and I headed back up the trail. And you guys weren't that far then.
No.
Got them some drinks, but I just remember taking off that pack and
Oh.
trying to feel like I had to keep my balance from falling over.
It took me about 2 hours until that sensation left. It was
Yeah, it felt
crazy.
like I was gonna fall over.
Yeah, like you moved like this and you thought you were going to keep going.
It was your balance was off. Is
Yeah.
what it felt like.
And it was good to be back at the truck, and we just went into town and got a motel, and I told them guys, whatever you guys want, burgers, steaks, and we found this nice restaurant with good burgers, and I'd had my feet taped up for 2 or 3 days. I took all that tape off and put on clean socks. The same socks for I don't know how many days, but it was one for the books.
It was. Shower felt so good.
For about, what, 24 hours here, we're never going to do another hunt like that.
Yeah, it was about a day or two before we thought of doing it again. I don't know if Kenneth was there yet.
I was there a little before. I mean, about soon after we shot the deer, I was there. When we started hiking out that dark, I was about done then. Gonna do that right away.
Looking back, I mean, I guess I'd have had a different mindset if I'd have done it solo, but man, it'd have been rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have probably done more like when I shot the deer, I'd had to stay there for the night, stuff like that.
Yeah, I won't ever regret going on it. It was a good experience.
Yeah, I don't know
Every minute of it.
I don't know if I'd do it. I don't think I'd do it solo, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, you'd had to pack out the meat twice. I mean, you had
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
do it twice.
Yeah, we'd had
Maybe
2 or
three.
3 trips because
Three
you'd have to
trips.
get your camp out yet too.
That's
That's
true.
what I'm saying. You'd have a little different mindset probably, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was one for the books.
It was yeah.
I don't know. I
Great
got there was so like these guys went along. You know, they were a huge part of it. Like, and then there was just different. Like my brother-in-law, he's a big mule deer hunter. I got so much like he would send me pictures what a deer scores because I haven't hunted a lot of mule deer. What to look for. There's a guy on Instagram I messaged quite a bit. He's a big mule deer hunting. Them guys from Arizona, just super guys. You can ask for better guys on the mountain. My
The
buddy-
hiker telling you how to get
Yeah, the
back.
hiker telling us how to get back in there. My buddy out there in Colorado telling me where to go. There was just a lot of guys that helped this happen. So.
Right.
Oh, here's a deer I did shoot, and like I said, he was not a monster. Biggest one I could find, and the hunt ended up being about as much of a trophy as the deer. But he's got some junk here. To me, he seemed like an older deer. He had a huge body. I could never put the 4th point on this one, and he didn't have it. Like, he had the frame for it. I kept talking myself into it. Like, we were glassing him from a mile away. He didn't have it.
I think what every once in a while we'd see from this way was this here thing.
That angle.
You seen that caught that brow tine in there.
But he's got junk here that I didn't know he had. Quite a bit of junk there. I don't know what he weighed, but he was a big body deer. I would have guessed him to be a 4-year-old deer probably. Something like that. 4 to 5-year-old deer. I was thinking I'd probably get, find something quite a bit bigger, but this is the biggest one I could find in a week of scouting. I could have used 2 weeks of scouting.
Yeah.
But I was happy. It felt like an accomplishment to go in, find the biggest deer you could find, and get it done. So anyway, but yeah, his velvet just shredded coming down that mountain.
Yep, definitely looks a little different, dried up a little bit since then.
Yeah, I'm gonna strip it and have fake velvet put on.
Cool. Yeah, well, it was definitely a good experience.
Yeah, I'm ready to go again.
I wouldn't mind if there was a sheep on the other end.
Yeah.
Of the Honda.
Sheep or a goat.
Yeah. But I'd do it again, I think. It took me about a day or 2 to say that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done some rough hunts. Not sure if I've ever been quite that tired. I've never been so tired where I couldn't go anymore. But I keep getting older too, and that don't help.
I've never been that tired either, but
It took us about 3 days to
I
get
need
used
to
to
get
the
better
oxygen level up there. It's a lot
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah, Dwight, he got off the plane and the next day Dwight got 13,000 on that.
Yeah.
I was actually a little worried you might get sick.
I don't know. I never felt sick, but I don't know. I fly around too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps or not at 8, 9, 10,000 feet for.
So.
Okay, well, thanks for listening and watching. If you guys want to, you can give us a thumbs up or subscribe. We'll probably be bringing the hunt here real soon. We're gonna have this podcast come out first, and then I got a guy editing the hunt, and we'll have him get that finished up for us, and we'll have some of this in there too. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll bring some more stuff soon.